According to the DSM's diagnosis, narcissistic personality disorder is mostly defined by a grandiose sense of self, limited capacity for empathy, and the need for excessive admiration. As a result of this condition, these individuals have the capacity to inflict a lot of pain to people, and that is what they regularly do. Narcissistic individuals can also be characterized by their inability to love, intense envy, readiness to shift values in order to gain favor, and more. Trust me, there is so much more. Want to hear it all? Listen to my podcast. Episodes are only about 10 minutes long to help you manage, so click on my profile and check it out. See you there. After doing a lot of research, I have gathered at least 10 manipulation tactics often used by narcissists to manipulate you. And these are gaslighting, love bombing, triangulation, projection, playing the victim, smear campaign, retaliation, the silent treatment, guilt tripping, and hoovering. However, it is important to realize that not everyone that uses one of these manipulation tactics is automatically a narcissist. The main difference between a narcissist and someone else, especially as a defense mechanism to protect their own feelings, or to avoid the feeling of discomfort of acknowledging one's own wrongdoing, which is usually the case of a narcissist. So let's talk about the 10 manipulation tactics used by narcissists in order to manipulate you. Using statements to make you question your own memory, perception, or sanity. Giving excessive attention, showering with gifts, or seeming to profess love way too fast. Bringing in a third person into the discussion in order for that person to take their side. Mirroring their own failures and personality traits onto you. Distorting reality to be perceived as the victim, trying to make you look bad in front of others by making false accusations, going into revenge-seeking mode to teach you a lesson, stalk you, or harass you, trying to discipline you by making you fear them, making you do something that they want by making you feel guilty first, becoming everything that you wanted them to be after you try to set boundaries or distance yourself. So did you know that reading a lot about specific mental and physical conditions can get you temporarily with a strange case of hypochondria? Yep. This happens very often to med students in a phenomenon known as medical student syndrome. It is certainly true that most people have experienced at least one instance of toxic love in their lives. The thing is, most people aren't even aware of it or realize it and can identify the patterns afterwards. Science considers anger a secondary emotion because anger provides a surge of energy that makes us feel powerful and in charge, rather than vulnerable and helpless. The challenge is to feel powerful within our vulnerability. The challenge is to transform our vulnerabilities into our superpower. And how do we do that? By losing the fear that is imaginary, that showing our realness will make us look weak. This is me trying. I'm not here telling you this for you to feel bad for me. I am here telling you this for you to know that it is possible for you to take back what is yours and change the narrative, even against all odds. It is possible for you to gain strength from struggle. Narcissists' special ability to play nice often makes them seem like they are very gentle, nice, respectful people in public. Narcissists play extra hard in order to appear great, especially in the beginning. They often appear very attentive and generous in order to wait for you to put your guard down. Once you do let your guard down, the narrative will change completely. In psychology, there is an investment model inspired by the social exchange theory. Roosevelt's investment model suggests that the more you put into a relationship, the harder it is for you to eventually leave it, because it will mean that all your investment will be lost. This is why it's so important to leave as soon as you realize that the relationship is non-reciprocal and that you are giving more than you are taking. From a critical standpoint, diagnosing psychiatrically someone is quite meaningless, especially when they are only based on symptom clusters. According to current investigations, psychiatric diagnoses are insignificant as a means of differentiating discrete mental disorders. Due to trauma, one can develop philophobia. This is the fear of falling in love. If you have philophobia, You have difficulty falling in love. You have difficulty developing intimate relationships, especially if you have personally experienced or witnessed a lot of abuse in the past. Have you ever heard about FOG? FOG. Fear, obligation, and guilt. This makes up a popular narcissistic parental tactic of manipulation, used to evoke guilt in their children so they end up sacrificing their own personal needs and boundaries. There are several mental illnesses that have been reported as misdiagnosed pretty frequently. Psychiatric disorders that can mimic narcissistic traits are as follows: post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline personality disorder, bipolar obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, autism, ADHD, and Asperger's disorder. Saying that someone is narcissistic is not diagnosing them with a medical condition. And the main objective to be able to assess someone's character is to understand if we should keep that person in our life or if that person's presence in our life is doing more harm than good. The 3 coping techniques more often used by abuse victims to protect against painful and intrusive thoughts are repression, denial, and detachment. The thing about narcissism is that there is a common misconception that narcissists must have learned their manipulation skills somewhere or through someone. And the chances are they were raised in a toxic or abusive environment, or were excessively spoiled or influenced by their parents to be this way. However, although it would be easier to just rely on quantifiable signs to predict someone's personality, the truth is that I've found that nature plays as much of a role, if not more, in somebody's development. I mean, let's think about it. Has every bad person you've met come from a broken home? Or was every person that came from a broken home a bad person? No, right? We hear the word narcissism a lot nowadays. This is not surprising considering the environments we are surrounded with, including the content we are constantly bombarded in social media. But how did the word narcissism come about? And what exactly is narcissism? Is narcissism the same as being confident, believing too much in oneself, putting one's needs above anyone else's? Or is there something more to it? In my podcast, I answered this question and so much more. Also, episodes are only 10 minutes long, so it's easier for you to manage when you